Everybody, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of ArmTalk. I was on there earlier as a part of the Can-Am Connection. This time I'm on my station for my stuff. And tonight we got the mega superpower of Cire Brown. Cire, what's going on, big man?
Oh, not much, man. Just got done with a little pump action. Can't really tell. Faded too quick because I'm soft. Big biscuit in the house. Just getting ready for some stuff coming up, man. And wanted to jump on Jody Thunder's, Chocolate Thunder's podcast to say what's up.
Well, hey, what's going on? You looking massive as always, looking strong and stuff. So let me pick your brain for a second because I've been seeing your workouts and you've been killing it in the gym and stuff. And usually when someone's doing that kind of stuff, they got something planned, like a tournament or a super match coming up, because you and I know in this sport, there's training to kind of stay sharp. And then there's training to say, hey, I got something, coming up and stuff. Hey, do you want to share what you got going on?
Yeah, so definitely am working towards something. Somebody out there has been putting out some serious numbers, and that's Leroy Walker. He and I are going to have a super match, left hand, at an event that's being put on by Tim Talmadge, and that's April 15th. That's on Triller, so it's a pretty big deal. It's on old Steiner's show that he's putting out there. He's got something going on with Uncle John that same night. Brandon Allen's pulling Don Underwood that same night. So I'm just happy to be on a ticket there. Leroy and we have to run something back. Can't really talk too much about the last event that we pulled at, but I got the W on him, and he wants it back bad. And if anybody follows the machine on Instagram, they see that boy's curling 205 pounds for reps 10, 15. So he's killing it. He's making a statement that he wants that back. So I'm going to see if he can try and get it back. But I think I've built myself up to be strong enough to prevent that from happening. You know what I mean? So
right. Well, Scott Evans in the house, the Drew 24, Dan Plexman, the Nightmare, Mr. Swartz. So anytime you hear somebody curl 205, I don't care who you are, that's something. What does that mean to you?
Honestly, because I pulled Leroy and he's had the world record for bench. He's held that title. I think it was like 265, so uncontested. Mm-hmm. Means that he has a lot of back pressure. And I've had the fortune of pulling Leroy 2 different tournaments. One in 2023 at the PAL Amateur Nationals. He took first. I took second right hand. And so I got a win on him there, right hand. He bled himself out. King's move, old shit, stuff that I don't do anymore. But then when we pulled at this tournament last year, so more recent, definitely we were in the trenches with a lot of other big names in the sport at this tournament. But he had some bangers, I had some bangers, and then when we got to put the fight on the table, my dog was just a little bit bigger.
Right. So, hold on for a quick second. My dog is barking, so I gotta close this door real quick.
You're good.
All right. So the King's move, something you used to do, you don't do anymore. So tell me something. It's one of those moves where it's nothing you want to jump into. It's almost that last-ditch effort to kind of stop from being pinned. It's almost like, well, I'm not going to lose. So open hand, top roll, King's move. Tell me, when you made that transition to where you're not doing that again, tell everybody in the chat, what was that like? Without giving away all your secrets about what you do now. But, was it hard habit to break that?
It was. So the reason that I had developed the King's move, and I think there's quite a few big guys that have developed the King's move as a result, is that they were too strong for the training partners they had. So they wound up in a position to always catch it, right? So it naturally becomes that idea that when you catch something, you're outside your shoulder already, you have back pressure established, you can kind of roll through your hand. So it was just a natural move. You look at Brandon Allen, he's got a natural King's move. You look at Leroy Walker, even has a natural bicep-based King's move. But for me, what stopped me from King's moving was Wyoming State last year. I ran through everybody. There was nothing there right-handed. Nobody could touch me. Then I got to Corey Miller, and I thought that I could flash the flash. So I set up just to blast. Like I was killing everybody at that tournament. So I set up, and when I go back and I watch it, I realize how much I gave away in the setup. for him to get what he wanted, which is completely fair. He knew what he was doing. He's a very experienced puller. But the position, when I look back, but when we were there, it was, I'm gonna eat his arm. He's never felt me hit before. Like in my mind, I had all this going. Like I'm gonna flash the flash, and on the go, I move without anything else. I move his hand, and he just tore me straight to the pad. Had me fully extended, broke the bicep completely off the bone, and had to have surgery 2 weeks later. That was my own fault because I got into an ugly King's move. But I got into a King's. Here's the thing about the King's move. If you are deliberately going to the King's move, or if in that situation I was deliberately going to the King's move, that would not have happened because I would have set myself up frame-wise to fall into that position.
Right.
But to take the hit and end up in that position leaves you completely over-supinated, so your palm up. I had no pronation left, and I still tried to rely on the frame of my arm to break his hand back a little bit to create the pronation, and I couldn't. And he pressed through it. I did it to myself along with his horsepower. So as a result of that, I started training close. And the nice thing about the surgery that I had is it moved my bicep up higher so I can actually get closer than I was able to before. Right? So the bicep before was a lot bigger, so it forces my hand out, whereas now I can get a hell of a lot closer, which means I can set up closer on the table. So naturally, I'm training myself out of that. I will say this, though. I allowed myself to get into one just to see where it was at. It's still there. And it's stronger than it's ever been. I just don't want to get there. Everything is just
got it.
Going the right way, so.
Well, I was going to ask you, now that you got that surgery and they reattached it higher where you can get closer, I was wondering when you get to that open spot, can you actually get there again? Because now it's higher. I always wondered, how that worked out because we all saw Michael Todd's surgery where he was able to kind of get closer now, but now he just reverts back to his old ways and, hopefully he can knock it off. But, with this King's move and, I see some of these amateurs, we're talking 3 years and under, I still call that. And it's like going, dude, unless you know what you're doing, and a lot of those King's moves come from, Devin didn't have one. He just kind of made one where Michael busted his arm so many times that it pretty much, it might have been a calcium deposit that made him, where you can't straighten your arm anyway. So he just learned to use that. Crazy George, same thing. So, guys like a Brandon Allen, they actually perfected that, and that's their go-to move. But the King's move doesn't do anything unless you have that pronation. If you got the pronation, you got a chance. But if any point in time your hand does this, and you're trying to King's move, that's all that strain goes to that bicep. And I be trying to tell these new guys that y'all got to chill with that stuff, man, because I'm telling you, it's not worth. I understand when you get into the sport, you want to mimic somebody, right? For me, when I first got into the sport, it was like, okay, the first two people I saw was Alan Fisher and Cobra Rhodes, right? Those are the first two people I saw on a YouTube, and I wanted to mimic what they did. But then as I got into the sport, I kind of did my own stuff, and mixed it together. So for you, when you got into the sport, who did you mimic?
So ironically, it was Levon. So my hit style, even now, when I move, it mirrors how Levon moves. I don't get the same torsion the way he sets up on the table. I don't get that yet, as in I haven't got to the point where I'm comfortable establishing that. But the movement itself, the top roll that I have, it mimics that, right? Because I look at, we're both 6'2", so I met Levon in Atlantic City when I was there with Brian. And what surprised me is that Levon and I are the same size. Right?
Yeah, tell us more about that because I'm kind of curious because I've never met him in person. You have. And maybe some people in the chat have. But when you're like with that guy and you see this mega powerful, I've yet to take a pin in so many years, what was your, when you saw him, what was your reaction?
It actually was really funny. So I'm walking down, we're in in Bally's. Walking down the hall, I see him, we make eye contact, and I come up to him, I was like, hey, would you mind if I took a picture with you? My name is Cire. I'm here kind of corner man for Brian for this tournament. He was like, oh yeah, absolutely. And we grip up and he grabs my hand and he like does this number. And he's like, oh, you big hand. Maybe you and I pull. And I'm like, I'd love to, but you'd kill me. And he laughs. So we shake hands, we take the picture, and I tap him on the back, right? And Brian's super strong dude. You know, Levon, when I hit that, was like hitting granite. It was solid, slapping him on the back. So then he does it to me. He's like, okay, nice to meet you. And he slaps me on the back. And I'm like, you know, he's a different, the strength level is completely different. You know, just superhuman, but extremely humble, really nice guy. But our hands, I actually think I'm a tad bit wider than he is, but he's longer and thicker. Just a ridiculous hand.
When you do that, and you got one of the bigger hands in North America, when you sit there and kind of, you know, everyone does that eye test, you're like, oh, nice to meet you. You shake hands, you kind of sit there, and I know it's shaking hands to say what's up, but it's more of, okay,
where can I go?
There's some thickness here. You know, how long are your fingers? I mean, there's always that test that guys do, and I try to tell my wife, and she just looks at me like I lost my mind, thinking you guys are weird. I'm like, yeah, I get it, but to know that Levon of all people tells you, man, you got a thick hand, that's saying something. I mean, tell me, does that say, oh, okay, it's time to go ahead and get my hand thick and let's go? Because your hand can't grow any more than what it is, but you can make it thicker and wider.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you agree with that? Yes or no?
100%. Even since then, I'm probably a little over a half inch thicker all the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah. See? So I've done a lot of work. My buddy Matt, so our team, Devil's Backbone Pullers, a guy who's on my team is a phenomenal engineer, and like my side pressure machine that I use that is getting a lot of circulation, similar to Arm Combat, but we put our own twists on there to make it 1-to-1. And it's really robust to handle over 400 pounds of side pressure when I'm pressing. He's engineered that stuff, but he's a big grip guy. He loves grip more than he loves arm wrestling. So we do a lot of stuff, double overhead, deadlifts and purse pulls and the 2-inch, bar pull. We do a lot of grip stuff. So it's good. Shout out Matt Baker.
There you go. Well, here's the funny part. So before I got into the sport, I thought, I want to venture in the grip world. Like there was times I wanted to say, oh, can I do that crush the dust thing from Iron Mine, with the Rolling Thunder, the hub, and then the number 2, I want to do that. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, well, maybe this might work in conjunction with arm wrestling. So I try to do both. And I've gotten a lot of flack, and here's the thing about arm wrestling. And you should know this by now. There's no one particular way to train, as Greg Brown's in the house, Rush Rader's in the house. There's no one particular way to train, right? There's no one particular style to critique. There's so many styles, so many ways of training. Some people like to do the weights, others the table, some do both, whatever. There's no one particular way. But I will say this, though. Stuff I do works for me. It may not work for you, but it works for me.
Yeah.
So, hand grippers. I love having strong hands. There's this theory thing that you're only strong as your grip. Cool, no big deal. I understand it's not so much a crushing grip when it comes to arm wrestling. I get that. I really do. Because you and I know if you crush, hard enough, you can't. It's hard to cup. It's hard to supinate and pronate. Where if you loosen that grip, then you can really get in there quick as possible. So I do understand the physics of that, but at the same time, that Rolling Thunder does work. That the hand grippers do work. For me, I can't speak for everybody else. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
100%. And I would say I'll piggyback it with, if you have a good strong hand, it negates the strap. If you have a good strong hand with the strap and you know how to manipulate the strap, you're just a superior hand dominant arm wrestler. Yeah. So I don't have a problem with having a really strong hand. I love to strap pull. But if I can catch somebody where they're not running from me or they try and run and I catch a finger, well, I'm catching that finger down here in the pinky and index or ring finger, and I'm bringing you straight down, right? What's up, Big Tony?
Yes, what's up?
So for me, it just doesn't make a difference. Like I thoroughly enjoy both, and the whole reason for training my hand, I'm training with the world's strongest man, right? I'm not his coach. I'm just a training partner, and that dude has a ridiculous hand. So in order for me to maintain my level with him outside of the technique and some horsepower, because my power applies in different areas than his does, he's coming up on that level. His hand is insane. His ability to create back pressure and rise is coming along. So I have to make sure that I'm adequately equipped to refine the skills that he's building. Right.
Right.
So it's just been, hey, let's try some grip stuff. I love it. The hub, I love doing all of it. All the grip training, I love it. And it's definitely translating on the table.
Okay, see? And all right, in the chat, yes, he trains with Brian Shaw. We'll go ahead and do some Brian Shaw questions right quick. But
I wasn't trying to say that.
Right.
Just put it out.
What's it like to train with an athlete like Brian Shaw? Because we're talking strength on strength. I know you've probably gotten some tips and things like that. So tell me what's going on. What's it like to train with somebody of that stature?
Real quick, because we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. He is by far one of the humblest dudes I've ever met. Like, he is super down to earth, like just chill. He's a regular dude, right? Cruising all over different flights and stuff, going to Atlantic City, going up to South Dakota, just traveling around. He's a super chill dude. So it makes the experience and training with him that you're on his level, right? He doesn't try and be above you. He's just like, hey, we're all having a good time. We're all learning here. So it's been a phenomenal experience to be around somebody of his influence caliber. It's been even bigger blessing, if you will, to be around somebody who's as passionate as I think I am. Right? He's a tutelage, undertaker of the sport, wants to understand every intricate thing of the sport, not just how to implement it, but why it works that way. So then we get to be around people like Devin, who can give years-long expertise in his opinion. Neil Pickup, the other gentlemen that are going to be joining the group. So I get to be a part of that learning experience. And you had mentioned earlier about amateurs only being in the sport for 3 years. I haven't even been in this. I haven't been in there 3 years. End of the month will be my 3rd year.
But look who you're surrounding yourself with, though.
Exactly. The talent pool of people who are way above me, who are even below, like, it doesn't matter skill level below me, but are just equally there, intellectually or whatever. I've definitely grown, benefited from it. One of my greatest training partners is Taylor Palmer. Shout out Taylor. He was one of the first people. He is the first person. We formed our team, Devil's Backbone Pullers, together. He trains with Brian whenever he can get out there. But phenomenal puller, super strong kid, extremely intelligent. And we figured out stuff together, which is why we advanced so quickly, right? So an amateur who doesn't get a lot of tournament experience takes 3 to 5 years to get established, get developed. And I did mine in 3 years. Was not allowed to pull after 6 months in amateur tournaments, So to have that really catapult me into being allowed into Brian's gym has been huge. My accolades speak for themselves, and Brian shows me nothing but love. So it's awesome to train with him. He gives me compliments all the time about my grip strength and my overall horsepower, because he's never met a guy who's not a power lifter that's this strong, right? So it's awesome. I love training with him. He's a good dude.
So more often times than not, when you approach a tournament or you approach, a super match or whatnot, what's the mindset like? Because everyone has a different mindset. Like, mine is different. I probably should alter mine. But my mindset when I get into a tournament is that, you know what? Here's the thing. I'm not afraid to lose. So for me to sit there and do that, that takes that portion out of the equation already. Like, I ain't afraid to lose. Let's go. Because, some people kind of like, they go to the tournament, they find out what's up, Lucky? Thanks for coming on the show and chatting in the chat. They find out who's in their class, and you're kind of going, oh boy. Okay. So, like, for example, you and I, not to get too much detail, but you and I were at the finals of the WSA last November. I had about 16 dudes in my class, and they were some studs from top to bottom, and I remember that when I came in earlier that day to register and stuff, I got there early. I wanted to go ahead, weigh in, whatever, so I can go get something to eat, right?
Yeah.
And I go in there, and I'm like going, okay, I didn't go in the night before. A lot of people did. So when I went in there, registered, us arm wrestlers, we all want to know who's in my class, right? So I go in there going, okay. I'm thinking, man, this is going to be a dogfight today. And it was funny because when I left the Harley Davidson dealership, and I came out to the car. My wife and our kids were in the car, and all of a sudden, they was like, "What's up, Dad?" I was like, "Yeah, it's going to be a rough one today." It's like that kind of stuff. Your mind has to be like, laser focused and laser sharp. Ain't that right, Cody Merritt? What's up? Yes, my man. You have to be laser focused. So for you and the guys you had in your class, case in point, Cody Merritt. So what was your mindset going to a tournament with those big names in there?
The beauty there is Cody Merritt specifically. He's one of two people who have kicked my butt more than I've never won against him. He's somebody that I really am looking forward to pull. Hopefully it'll be in a couple of weeks here. But there are two guys. Tony Tomlinson's also another one who's in the chat. Those are the two guys that have the most wins on me. Outside of that, there's not many. For me, walking into that scene without naming too many names at WSA last November, it was like, holy shit. That's number 1, 2, and 3, right? And that was left hand for me. I didn't pull right just because I was still dealing with recovery. But that was left hand, still number 1, 2, and 3. And I'm like, cool. And I left 4th. And that's not me divulging too much information that's out there on airs for anybody who wants to look it up. So I'm not giving too much away. But I took 4th. And the number 1, 2, and 3 guys all took 1, 2, and 3. So it let me know that I'm not as far off as I thought I was. It was a good test for me. I had no delusion of going there and waxing anybody in that bracket. Like looking at it going, all right, we're going to see where you're at, bud. We're going to see if you are top 10, top 20. You see if you ain't shit, like forgive my French. But that's what I thought about that tournament. It was like, it's a great tournament. Awesome to be here. Let's see where you're at. And to finish 4th was like huge for me. So
same thing. I took 4th in my class, and there were some names that I was like, I'm surprised I finished higher than they did. Yeah. And I got some wins that I was like, wow, that's saying something.
Yes, sir.
But you also got to remember too, and this is why I try to tell some people that don't worry about who's in the class, because you got to realize those people got to put each other also.
Yep.
And you and I, and a lot of people in this chat will understand that a lot of it depends on where the bracket is, where you are in the bracket. Is it evened out? Is the top of the bracket backloaded as the bottom of the bracket is, or whatever the case may be? And you and I know that. So you just kind of, at that point, once I knew who was in my class, I don't even care where I'm at. I know for a fact I gotta get it. I gotta come in with my A game right off the get-go. There was no rest. You know that, and I know that. Yeah. If you were there at San Diego, Lucky you were there. She knows. Cody, you were there. You walk in there, it's like going, okay. And you looking around, you kind of, sizing people up and go, okay, he's in my class. Lucky's probably going, oh, damn, she made it here. That kind of stuff. I better have my A game on. And those are the kind of things you want to make sure you go in there and go, hey, it's showtime. Because now you got to go, you know what? I'm going to wreck someone's weekend today. I don't know who it is, but they're going to know. When it's all said and done, they're going to know who I am. And for me, I think a lot of it has to do with, do I have the respect of my peers, right? And that's what it comes down to. I've been in this sport long enough to go, if I can get the respect of my peers, then, I feel the same way. Your response to that, having respect from your peers.
100%. I feel like I've built up a name for myself enough that when I walk in there, the greats they all recognize me. They don't shy away. They're like, hey, Cire, how are you? First name basis. And I think that was probably the most humbling. First big tournament I pulled was Cody Merritt in 2022 in Idaho, and he kicked my butt. And after that, he knew who I was. I showed up to the next tournament, didn't shy away. We were in Utah after that. Then we were back in Pocatello again. So it was cool to be on that first name basis with guys that I then started Googling and learning about when I first started the sport, and like, oh man, these elites, these amazing athletes. And then I meet them and they're just as humble as pie, like good dudes, down to earth, like super chill. If I had questions, they answer. It was awesome. So I definitely like the fact that the sport is as open-minded as it is, accepts new pullers for who they are. They want to grant them the opportunity to get better because then it increases their level of competition. So it's been nothing but great for me.
Good. So are you allowed to talk about what other tournaments you plan on being at, or how does that work with you?
So it's the same. This one I'll say this one first and then get into a couple other ones. There will be a tournament at the Shaw Classic, and the tournament will be on Friday. It's an open tournament. We will be releasing that information here pretty soon. So that's going to be a super cool opportunity for a lot of people. That is August 15th. Outside of that, when the details come out, everybody will know about those. But there'll be super matches and a big tournament and a lot of good prizes for the people who come out and pull. Aside from that, I want to give a big shout out to Greg if he's still in chat. We have the Mexicali tournament coming up, so shout out to Greg Brown and Magoo, Ricardo, all the Mexicali athletes, all the Mexican pullers that are going to make it out there. Super cool opportunity for Greg because WSA has endorsed that tournament to offer the Mexican athletes the opportunity to pull in the World Series. So those guys who place there will get that chance. It's super cool opportunity for Greg and all the Mexican athletes. I'm excited to go down there and represent USA within that group. Our last year's tournament was freaking awesome. Great hospitality, amazing environments. Even when we had some hiccups, how quick Magoo and Greg adjusted and just made everything feel fluid. It was awesome. So I can't do anything but say nothing but great things about this tournament that's coming up. So I'm super excited about that. And that's on May 3rd. In Mexicali. So for anybody who can make it down there or anybody who's watching this that's in Mexico, I'll see y'all there. Another one is I'm the alternate in Greg Brown's 8-man round robin. So if they're short a puller, I'll be pulling that. And that's I believe April 5th.
Where is that one at?
That's in Utah.
Okay. Yeah, that's the yeah, I heard about that because one of my buddies is pulling that, Paul Passmore.
Who's your buddy?
I heard he was going to that one, which is in what, 3 weeks?
Yep, first weekend of April.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's funny. What else you got? Are you going back to Wyoming or Colorado State this year?
Yeah, Colorado State is the week after ours. It's August 23rd. So it's a week later, and I'll be pulling that tournament regardless of what happens at the Shaw Classic. So I'll always pull a Colorado tournament. I didn't last year just because I jacked up my arm and I couldn't do anything, and I couldn't hold the peg to pull left-handed, so I just didn't pull at all. Which I wish I would have because that was an Arnold qualifier, and I could have went out to Arnold's and did some damage out there. But
speaking of which, what'd you think of the qual? I mean, I know you saw some. It's on YouTube now, so if you look at Mr. Top Roll on Wrestling TV, everybody, he has it out there. So of course I'm thumbing through it, and I saw it. And I was like, going, man, because I qualified for it at a Tim Talmadge event in Washington State, and things happened. I wasn't, going to be able to make it, but I saw it and I was like, Of course, I'm focused on my class. Kind of want to see, if I can mix it up. So I know you did the same thing. So what were your thoughts? Do you think you could sit there and go, you know what? I could have mixed it up. Your thoughts on that?
100%. I'm looking forward to debuting my right arm. I feel ridiculously strong. I'll answer your question in a second, Lucky. I feel ridiculously strong and haven't had the chance to really debut the right arm. Hell, I haven't had a chance to really debut my left after the Contender Series at King of the Table. Which I wasn't doing anything for that match. It was like, oh, you should pull that. Okay, I'll go pull it. Because I wasn't planning on it and took second place. So that was cool. But as far as the right arm goes, I definitely think I could have mixed it up proper there. And I don't want to say I'd have beat anybody outright, but I definitely think I'd have gave them something they weren't expecting. And I feel that way if I do get the opportunity to pull in this 8-man round robin, I'm going to be fighting with more tenacity than I've ever fought before because I figured out how to access that. Whereas before I've always been a pretty cold puller. I can walk up to the table and then just fire up on the hit and then walk off. And I've learned that there's a place that I can go where the animal wants to come out. And so that's been a new thing. So really looking forward to it. I think I'd have done some damage at the Arnold Classic. Not going to say I would have won it, but I think I'd have shocked a lot of people. Really looking forward to debuting these arms.
Well, before we go to the next topic, I'm gonna go ahead and have you answer Lucky's question. She says, "Is the Shaw Classic on the open tournament, or will you have to qualify? Do we know yet?"
It is not a qualifier. So you once registration is open, you register to pull, and we'll have the classes listed. So like I said, when the flyers come out, that'll be a lot more specific. I do apologize for being vague, but we haven't released all the info yet. But it is open to everyone.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter the level of athlete. You get yourself out there, you win, you're going to find yourself in a really good spot.
Yes, like Novocaine, everybody be patient. It will work.
Yeah,
so.
That's right.
Yeah, gotta have that.
Gotta have the
now,
finger.
Switching gears, I have it on good authority because I keep my ear to the ground. And,
Yep.
of course, it helps to have friends in other places. So now the new and improved King of the Table, the new and improved East vs. West. Now they're starting to throw tournaments now on the weekend of the event.
Yes.
And now it's like, okay, so if someone really wants to make a name for themselves, men or women, I would highly suggest they go there if they want to get noticed, because the who's going to be there. And if you go up and like I said, my motto for this year, for 2025, is show up and show out. If by chance the next one's in Arlington in a couple weeks, you show up to the tournament and show out, rest assured you will be getting a contact via email, text message, whatever. You'll get something there. With that being said, and now that they have these events there, what's your thoughts on that? Because I think you just said that you're at the Atlantic City tournament at the last King of the Table. Yes?
Yep. And I won, took second place. So that night we had the night previous, we had the tournament, and then first and second fought it out on the King of the Table stage on pay-per-view the next day. So unfortunately I didn't get the W on Vitor, but Vitor Munoz, good puller. Definitely want to run it back with him though. Not the same guy 2 months later.
Right.
But yeah, so if you go down, so Arlington will have a tournament. I'm going to be down there reffing the tournament on the 24th. So you guys get yourself down there. It's an awesome opportunity for you, like Jody just said, to really showcase your talents, to put yourself in a contention position where they might, if you have enough fight, fire, and tenacity on the table, and you make yourself kind of TV worthy, if that makes sense. You don't have to go over the top, but if you have a little bit more edge than the guy you're pulling, you definitely will open up some opportunities for yourself. As far as King of the Table goes, I know that they're planning one. I don't know when per se, but there will be, because King of the East vs. West presents King of the Table now. It will be something coming up here pretty soon. They'll make notice about it. I would bet that it's probably going to be this summer. But yeah,
I got some information.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't.
Yeah.
Same boats. Yeah. So.
But not only that, though, Cire, I want everybody in the chat to understand what we're saying. What Cire and myself are saying is not that, it's my only chance to get looked at, because, again, show up and show out. They're not the only people looking. There's other promoters watching. So if you don't get picked up by them, rest assured there's other promotions out there. There is a Mac out there with Ian Carnegie and JJ Jackson. There is, Knuckles Up, aside from what their issues are right now. There is, Arm Wars, Arm Gods, Arm Sports Entertainment. The list goes on and on. There's stuff out there that if you go there and do a good job, Montana Armbender, M-Spot, whatever the case may be, there's some things out there. Trust me, you do good, you will get a contact one way or another. Do you agree?
I agree 100%. I think that more opportunities have opened for me where I'm in, because of what I did at the Contender Series. That wasn't just me being undershadowed by Brian. It was my own skill set. I've had a lot of compliments. I went up and pulled with Bob Brown and Luke Polsher in February, messed around with AJ Henson, with Nathan Johnson, and those guys are all, monsters. And of course, it's a practice table, but they all said I'm a different animal. So it's nice to know that there are more eyes on me than have ever been before, and that's because of the quality of work that I put out and what I'm doing on the table. So that goes for everybody. Now, if you show it, you'll get it.
With that being said, do you feel like because of what you've done lately, you're getting better, and when you go to see these big names in the sport, and you're a sponge because you're absorbing what they're telling you and stuff, and then you go back to the lab and put it all together, do you some way somehow feel like there's a target on your back now?
I want there to be. I don't mind anybody hunting for it. I hide in plain sight, so I'll be the easiest target you can have. If you want it, you can get it. Like it's not an overconfidence statement. It is, I trust in the faculties that other people are helping me build. Right, I trust in my own ability right now, and I'm taking every bit. Like you said, I'm a sponge. I'm absorbing it and I'm implementing it. I got some really good shout outs from Neil Pickup about just my ability and understanding and being willingness to learn and implement everything that he says. That I'm an articulate arm wrestler. I'll go out there, study, go out and then redo it instantly, just because I'm that driven. So the target can be as big as it needs to be. And to answer Bob Anderson's question, yes, he will. He just released a podcast today talking about that. He will be announcing that. That was with Neil. They were discussing that today. So he will be announcing the next one.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Hey, if you want it, come get it right there. My man Bruce Cire's in the house too. Now, here's the thing. When we talk about training and absorbing things that people teach you, and what I've learned over the years, because this is year number 15 for me in the sport, and I've taken some things, tried it. Oh, this works out. I've also taken other things, tried it, didn't work. You throw it away. We'll use this, and I want to know if you agree. I want to know if the chat agrees or disagrees. But it's almost like, and we'll use the hook for a second, right? Hook move. And this goes back to what we're talking about training.
Yep.
Before we went live on the show, we're talking about Neil training people. If somebody, you get 10 guys, right, to teach you a hook move, right? Because you struggle with it. And, 10 guys say, hey, this is how I hook. This is how I hook, yada, 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 yada. Of those 10 people, some way, somehow, somebody's going to say something, and it's going to be like, oh, I get it now. The verbiage or how they explain something, it's like, oh, wow, that kind of thing. Do you tend to agree or disagree? Or what do you think about that?
I agree with that statement 100%. And if you were to do that over, say, a 10-month period, and that was a different dude once per month, or a consolidated 10 guys at the same practice, somebody's going to say something to you that it just registers for whatever reason. I think that first shout out 15 years is awesome. You've been pulling that long. Me being in for 3 years, I asked too high level questions too early. I didn't know what the body position was warranting or meriting me answering that question. So then the more experienced puller kind of looks at me and says, well, you're not ready for that answer. And I was, really put off by it early on. Like, what do you mean I'm not ready for an answer? It's just a question. But it's a question that if they give the answer, you can hurt yourself. Right. And they know this, but you don't as the inexperienced puller. So I agree with that statement 100%. That it's, once you've established the position, for them to say this is why this works, and there's 10 different dudes, but 2 of them say the same thing, and the first one who says it doesn't click, but the second one it does. It's because whatever verbiage they used after you learned how to get into that position, all of a sudden it puts all the puzzle pieces together. So I agree 100%.
Yeah. I mean, like some of the guys that come to my camp have come and gone, whatever, and they're like, hey, top row, explain that to me. How does it work? I'm like, if we're talking with the right hand, pretend like you're at a red light, making a left-hand turn. And the light's green, and you turn your steering wheel like that. That's the motion you make, for pronation. Or you got a jug of milk, you about to pour some cereal. Same movement. And, and they're like, oh, I get it now. I'm thinking, yeah. Only thing different is that when you get somebody, you make that movement, you're going to have pressure going against you also. Yep. That's where you got to kind of position yourself and work some of those tendons to where you can still do that as you're going against force. And I try to simplify it as much as I can. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And there is that saying that goes, those who can't teach. Sometimes I feel, I do it that way. Those who can't teach, some people told me, hey, you go into a hook, you just scoop and bring them to you and drag them to the pad. I mean, there's that. Somebody told me to use your fingers. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Use your digits. Like, okay, use your hook somebody. If I'm like this, right? Your ring finger is the 4, your pinky is the 5. Use the 4 and 5. Oh, okay. Use that to turn them in. Okay, now use the 1 and 2, index and middle finger. Use that to hook. Well, now your cupping is a different angle now. Yep. So it all depends on who you talk to, how they explain it to you, and like I said, man, hey, I mean the chat, yeah, let me know. It's just verbiage. Yep. Once again, and before we went live, I was talking to you about how Neil can make you sit there and go get a notebook and a pencil and write the stuff down when he's talking. Yeah. He has that kind of, to where you're drawn to him. It's like that old grandfather that's in front of his fireplace in a rocket truck telling you stories about what he did, when he was younger. You just don't say anything, you listen, and you and I were talking, and I'm gonna say something to everybody in the chat. Go back and look at those Neil Pickup training methods or training sessions with Eddie Hall, because sometimes even a veteran of the game can watch that and learn, go, damn, I thought I've been doing it this way and it's been working for me. Now, guess what? By the way, Neil, using verbiage, opened my mind to another thing. And you just went through that, so it's always good to have somebody of that caliber who can't really do it on the table no more because they're done pulling and they got nothing to prove. Say, hey, well, guess what? This is my way of giving back to the sport. Not me, but Neil, multi-time world champion. I'm giving some of my stuff to you guys, my knowledge, because I'm into the, commentary booth now and all that kind of stuff as an announcer. Yeah. Do you agree with that? Like, just making sure that you listen and don't say a whole.
Yeah, you froze.
A lot, but just listen.
There we go.
Sorry about that. Am I good now?
Yeah, you're good. I picked up what you were asking. So, yeah, I agree with that 100%. Neil is somebody that I'm a very auditory person. And then if I have questions, I immediately ask the question. I don't like holding the question back. And Neil likes the question presented immediately. He doesn't want to backtrack through and catch everybody up. So it was nice to be in the position where it's like, hey, if you don't understand something about this position I'm showing you, ask me. And I'm like, cool, I need you to show me. So I get on the table with him. We do the position. And then I'm like, all right, cool. I got to process this. I'll go sit down. And while he's talking, I'll run through it, hand motion, just kind of going through it, whatever. And then he's like, all right, follow-up questions. I'm like, cool. Go up there, show it to him. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Cool. So Neil's super patient. He has no problem going through the same thing over and over again until it sticks. If he believes that you are actually, getting there. Taylor Palmer in the house. That's my dude. That's my dude, right? Like,
there you go.
Taylor Palmer. I got Matt Baker. Got my boys in the house. My boy Daubers in the house. They're all in the house. It's awesome. Appreciate you, boys. But yeah, no, Neil, phenomenal coach. And I'll say this: the man still has his venom. So if he wants to turn it on, he can turn it on. So it was impressive to see him still have some moves. He can't maintain it for a long period of time. But when he wants to bite you, he can bite you pretty quick. So it was cool to watch.
Oh, don't mistake the hand that's not so big. Yeah. That wrist is still there, Yeah. One of the things I caught when I went over to England a couple years ago and participated in Arm Wars, and just being around these athletes from a different country, it was my first ever, taste of international flavor, so to speak. And I remember we pulled Saturday night? I think it was Friday night. So Saturday morning, I get up, I'm having coffee. I'm sitting there. You know who Mater Ninjas is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I told the story at the time because it was like blew my mind. So I'm up. He's like up at like 4 a.m, whatever, So, he's having coffee. I'm sitting there. And all of a sudden, we're just chit-chatting. We're exchanging stories and all that kind of stuff. Some of the stuff he talked about blew me away. So here in the States, we like to talk about, oh, this is my squad. This is my team. And he said, oh, you mean my arm wrestling club? I'm like, oh, shit. Just the fact that he even said that told me like, okay, he about to drop some serious knowledge. So now I gotta listen. So I said, well, tell me something. How does your club, how they operate? And he says, well, we got about in our club, we got this facility, and they got about 7, maybe 8 tables, give or take. He goes, half the squad will be doing table time. The other half will be doing workout sessions. All tables are being utilized, by the way, right? Mm-hmm. And he said at the midway point, they swap. And I'm like, are you shitting me? So I'm up here going, what I thought I was doing was good. And then this dude just sat there casually kicking back, oh, yeah, this is what my club does. And I'm like going, you kidding me? So, of course, I'm like, all right, I got to pick your brain. He gets up, he puts his coffee down. So we get on the table, we're kind of going through some stuff. And, and when he explains something to you, he looks at you and go like, do you understand what I'm saying? Mm. Though, if somebody does that to you, best better listen, because I'm telling you, the way he goes, try this now. Do you understand what I'm saying when I'm saying this? This is why. So again, he's telling me do it this way, and I'm going to tell you why you do it and why you shouldn't do it another way.
Yep.
Blew my mind. And I'm sure, you being around some of the athletes you've been around, they will do the same thing. Hey, Cire, don't do that because this will happen. Do it this way in order to yada, 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 right? So, again, what you're being absorbing all this information, tell everybody in the chat how that's worked for you.
It is fundamentally rewritten how I arm wrestle. I think the biggest thing I could take away from all of this kind of exposure that I've had, specifically from Neil, is it reminded me of something that was told to me early on. You're an amateur for 3 to 5 years. That 3 to 5 years, you're learning the fundamentals. You're learning the basics, and then you're going to grow from the basics. The figure 8 was the basics. When I started pulling, we were doing the figure 8. As soon as I got strong enough to keep my center, we stopped doing it. Nobody else did it anymore. And so we walked away from the basics. And I felt now, over the weekend and going back into the figure 8, things that I haven't felt since the first month, 2 months that I've arm wrestled. Activating different, separating ligament, getting things warmed up, just moving, articulating the joints and expressing them. Like, it just completely different. And it made me realize, like, hey, bro, every tower is built from the base up.
Yep.
Every tower. You don't build it inverted. You don't build it wider than it's necessary. Every tower has the base that it needs to sustain the height that it's going to go to. So getting that reality check of, yeah, you're a good arm wrestler because you're strong, but your fundamentals are lacking in certain areas. Let's get those back. Has been phenomenal. It's been phenomenal. We're going to change. As a result of that, we're going to change how we do our Sunday practices. The boys are going to be in for some hurting because
you hear that, Taylor? You hear that, Matthew?
They're going to be in for some hurting. It's going to be good because we're going to spend more time training. And then the last probably half hour to an hour, we'll put some table time in. And we'll do it in a way that we're fatigued. So not quite the Levon way, how Brian has adapted that by doing a good workout before pulling. He's going to switch that up too. But that was his biggest running thing. And so we were doing that. We were all going in there, lifting weights, getting all crazy, and then we go arm wrestle. This, we're going to do arm wrestling specific lifts categorically for a couple hours. And then the last hour for the cool down, we'll arm wrestle. Because we don't have to arm wrestle at 100%. We can arm wrestle at 20% and get the same results. The fundamentals are there. The IQ is there. The intuition to move is there. Somebody moves a particular direction. It doesn't matter. You don't have to put horsepower behind it. So we're going to refine those fundamentals. And it's not saying that we're beginning level arm wrestlers. It's just saying that we're going to refine the skills that we want to expand upon. So, yes, having somebody take direction and say, this is what you do. This is how you do it. 100%. When somebody speaks with conviction and confidence, and I trust they know what they're talking about, way easier to absorb that information.
Oh, yeah. But that also goes back to, like, there's more than, what's that saying? There's more than one way to skin a cat. So, there's more than one way to train. Like, for example, for the few guys that are left on my team, I'm like, okay, here's the deal. I want you to top roll. We go the first 10 minutes, you do nothing but top roll. I do nothing but hook. So the purpose of this is that you're trying to make sure I can't turn you in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to make sure you don't crack my waist that way. So now we're kind of working that, different pressures and stuff. After that 10-minute mark, we flop. Now I'm doing the top roll, they're doing the hook. That way we can kind of get that muscle memory going and stuff, and we can kind of get used to that. Then it's like, okay, now we got strap work. We'll mess around that for like 15, 20 minutes. Okay, now we'll do like burn amounts. Like, okay, at 10 seconds, take me to the pad. Now I got to sit there and hold that. And after, 10 seconds, maybe 15, now I can go. So you're wearing everything out and stuff, but we're not hurting. So we're not going like 110% though either, and it's just different. Okay, now guess what? I'm on the offense. And now you're trying to pull me out. After 10, 50 seconds, now you can go that way. So, and I'm going. So you got to stop me at the pad. So once you stop me, after that 15 seconds is up, now go ahead and try to take me over. And if they're too strong, then, take the hand, slow it down a little bit more. You're still moving, but you're still using. So, it's just different techniques. We try not to do this, tournament style stuff where we're not trying to do all that. If you want to, hit, say, okay, let's do some hitting after we're all broken down. Now we can do that, okay, now we can do some ready goes if you want to. And just try different things. Like, okay, I'm going to grip you different now. You got to figure out where I'm going to go and figure out how to counter that on my go. So you got so much throwing at you. It's like taking a DMV test, right? Okay, here's my pressure. I'm gripping you this way. And, on the ready go, you better counter that.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just different things you do that can make you better, make your partner better. So that way, and we do it that way. So when we go to a tournament, we don't have that deer in the headlights, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
100%. I agree 100%.
Well, good. I'm glad, man. So Colorado State, obviously there's that. And I'm sure you'll go to a qualifier. I don't know which one yet, but I'm sure you'll get one of those WSA qualifiers en route back to the Sea of the Crime in San Diego for you in November. So there's that. So, for me, my year is pretty much spoken for to a certain degree. I got, as next week, I got Arm Gods. I got Winter Blast. I'm excited, be a part of that.
Jody for the W, baby, all day. Jody's got
yes, I got you. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
And I'm glad those guys from the UK look down on me. I'm glad. I want them to because I'm gonna shock somebody. So that's how that's going down. Obviously, I do a tournament once a year in the summer. It's a benefit thing, and I'm excited for that.
I will be there. I will be there. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. When we get off here, how about you and I? We chit chat. We have to call it after dark, where it's just me and the guests. We chat after we're off the air.
Yeah,
I got something I want to ask you. But this is after dark. If you want to know, it'll cost you $59.99 to find out. So whatever. But I look at it like this. I don't want to sit there and put pressure on you when I say I expect big things of you, but because of your trajectory in the sport, I'm thinking, okay, watch this dude, because I'm telling you, he's surrounding himself with some smart people and strong people. You mix that together, that's a good cocktail. And come tournament time, like, do you plan on going to the Arlington one, East vs. West?
Yeah, I'll be there reffing. Yep, I'll be there reffing. So I'll be at the event the next day, hanging out.
Are you gonna participate or just ref?
I'm just gonna ref. I've had a lot of people ask me to pull, but I have the 8-man round robin the week later. So if that gets called off for whatever reason, then absolutely. If I find out right before, the Arlington or before East versus West, and they say I'm not the alternate, then absolutely I'll pull at that tournament. But if they don't say anything, then I plan on being the alternate, so I won't pull.
So before you get ready for a tournament or a super match, because everyone's different, right? How much time are you taking off?
I don't.
I mean, to get ready for an event, you don't?
I don't. I stopped pulling the Tuesday before. I stopped training, lifting, everything the Tuesday before the event or super match. But I go hard all the way till Tuesday.
So, like, for example, if you had an event this coming weekend, you would have been done like yesterday.
Yep.
There you go. Are you
And
resting me? Are you doing blood work, blood flow,
nothing,
anything like that? What are we doing?
Nothing. Just relaxing. Letting everything catch up to me, because 2 days after I stopped lifting, by Thursday I'm like, ooh, I feel Sunday, I feel Monday, right? So by Thursday evening, Friday morning, I feel like $1 million, and I carry that through the weekend.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, some people, and this may be superstition or whatnot, but when you have big matches coming up, some people like to say, you know what? I don't want to hear talk shows because I don't want to get whatever they got saying into my mind, because that can mess people's minds up,
Yeah.
Do you believe in stuff like that?
Nope. I'm not a superstitious person. I'm not a skeptical person. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. It's just whatever's in front of me is what it is.
Right.
And I just take it in stride. I think the only time I've ever screwed myself off in a tournament was the Super 64 last year.
Mm-hmm.
I took a big old snort of that nose slap, and I spiked like 2 hours before the tournament started, dude. My adrenaline, my CNS, everything was gone. It was terrible.
So did you get the nose slap or the soul strap? Because the soul slap is the bigger one.
It was the big can. It jacked me up, man. Like,
yeah, that's the soul slap.
Yeah, I was tore up. I couldn't breathe for a good 15 minutes. Had no energy afterwards. I arm wrestled like this, sitting there, ready to go. Like, just not in it.
I took a hit of that, and it's for you guys, it's salts, right? That you kind of ammonia salts, basically.
Yep.
But this stuff is intense. Like the nose slap, I was like, my word! I took a hit and I squeezed the bottle as I was breathing, so it kind of hit me hard, and now my eyes are watering and my nose is running up, thinking, okay, please don't call my name. Please don't call my name. I used some of that at the 64 up at Loveland. Yeah. And I was like going, all right, Corey, don't call my name. Don't call my name. Sure enough, it was Edo and myself. I was like, damn, like, all right, cool. Let's just get through it, Yeah. And I go up there and pull. But that was fun too. And Corey's still doing those events, people in the chat. So I think the next one's in Texas coming up pretty soon, the 176-pound class. So again, Aries, Super 64. I was very fortunate to be part of the first one. And I cannot tell you the last time I pulled an event where you had 64 guys in your class, not the tournament, just your class.
Yeah.
And, you kind of go, damn. And, and you've been a part of it, so you know this, but for the people that don't really know too much about it, it's based on your scoring, your ELO, I guess you could say. And they try to match you up so there ain't no, it's going to be a good match no matter you win, lose, or draw. So, of course, it's double, elimination. But the way they do it, you have to break everything down. And I remember being the first one, and Corey and I were talking about this, that we had this big, giant group chat. Hey, everybody's in it. Here's the brackets. And I had, at one point, there were so many opponents that would come in, it would shuffle depending on, what the numbers are.
Yeah.
So there were like 5 different people I was going to pull, but I didn't know who to pull. So it was kind of hard to kind of sit there and gauge who I was going to pull in the first round, because it's like, oh, so-and-so entered. Okay, now then it is, depending on what number they were, either you were fine or it kind of shifted this way or shifted that way. So it was cool. It was fun. It was, interesting. And I had a blast. I still got my jersey. I might frame that bad boy, but it was nice. And so, again, I like where the sport's going. There's so many organizations out there. They're doing good things. I just personally wish, off the record, they would stop attacking one another, because there's plenty of arm wrestlers, and I mean plenty of them, that is going to like what you got to offer. Meaning that, there's some things that, we know the elite of the elite, the best of the best, the cream rise to the top. We get that. King of Table, East versus West, we get all that. But there's other organizations down, the next tier down, still good stuff. Knuckles Up, Arm Gods, Arm Wars, Montana Armbender, M Spot, call it what you want. Arm Sports Entertainment does great things. Texas Arm Wrestling League is an entity itself. Bill Collins still got the UAL out west in California. So I'm telling you right now, the Florida Armors League got their thing down at the Panhandle and all that kind of stuff. And then, of course, all the other promoters have been doing it for years and years and years. I guess what I'm trying to say is to everybody is that, you know what, there's so many organizations that just take a step back and see what fits best for you.
Yep.
That's the only thing I can really tell people like that. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree 100%. There's a lot of up-and-coming organizations as well, people who have the right ambitions at heart, and I hope that they are given the opportunity to swim with the big fish. It doesn't have to be the biggest fish, but just the opportunity to be in the water and present what they can. So I know that there's a couple of different promotions that are coming out and stand with all the other big promotions. Like I think Tim Talmadge is doing phenomenal things with Arm Sports Entertainment, even in the new venture coming out here in a month. Looking forward to seeing how that comes. Everybody else, MABL, 98% and running Winter Blast out there. Arm Gods, Arm Wars. Like, I'm looking forward to pulling for any one of these organizations. I don't limit myself to any one in particular.
There's Mac. Don't forget Ian Carnegie and Mac.
So that's the table I'm interested in pulling on. I have a huge elbow, right? So I'm like, if I could put that in different angles, I think that makes me a lot more dangerous. Whereas the pad itself that we pull on, the 7.5, which we're actually doing 8.5 now because East versus West jumped theirs up in sizes. I think that benefits me like tremendously. So look at that, thumbs up. But
hey, put 2 thumbs up and see what happens because I know you're on your phone. So
I'm on my iPad and I got the phone. There we go.
There you go.
I'm on my phone and then I'm on my iPad and then I got the phone here for comments. So
gotcha.
Let's see you do. But
well, here's the thing, because I would recommend to you and anybody else when you go to these different organizations to compete in, I cannot stress enough, read the rules because it's a little different, because the MAC table, our tables are like that normally, right? The max table kind of just indents like that. And
but it's wider.
Different.
It's wider. It's longer. Yeah.
So it's a little different. So yeah, and it's all flat, meaning that you got a lot of room to move in. Especially if you got a big elbow and stuff like that. And I'm curious because I was watching the Mac 3 event, and I'm watching Jason Constantini and Pork Chop Pull. Yeah. And Jason kind of went into a King's move, and I'm looking, going, the table, not the cloth, but the table portion kind of like shriveled up, like kind of got all
bunched up, loose. Yep.
Yeah. I'm like going, do y'all not? I'm like, as a competitor, I'm like, do y'all feel that? Because we can tell on a 7x7 pad where the edge is. We kind of just know.
Yeah.
There, you really don't know, and so I'm always curious to kind of know. How does that work? And, I'm kind of curious how that works out. Of course, everything is, close your thumbs, close your hands, go type stuff. So, I mean, that for pay-per-view purposes, they kind of, use that format, which I get and I understand. So, but, I mean, for me, Arm Gods, my match is a title match. So guess what? That means best of 7.
Yeah.
So if it goes to the Silver Bullet, it's going. And they don't do things on a 7x7 pad. No, they don't.
They're using 8.
They got the extra 2 inches on the back.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so
you got some running distance,
right? I mean that kind of like that may alter my style on how I want to approach it. Once I get on there, I'll figure that out. Oh, so we got they update the Mac table with the raised strip of fabric to note the edge of the pad area. Okay, good. I'm glad
you feel the difference. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. I mean, do you feel it? Do you not feel it? So that kind of thing. So I'm glad you verified that. Thank you very much. But yeah, it'd be kind of cool to go ahead and participate on there to say, hey, I've done a MAC event. I've done Arm Gods. Because right now I can sit there and Jody, what events have you done? Oh, I've done Arm Wars. I'm about to do Arm Gods. I've done the Monster Factory. I've done that before. And there's some other things I want to do down the road. Hopefully I can make that happen. Knuckles up. Or, I'm about to do M-Spot here in May and another one in October. So there'll be that one. So we'll have to play it by ear and stuff, man. But other than that, my friends, anything you want to do before we put a bow tie on this?
There was a quick comment in here from Tony Tomlinson earlier. I'm not sure if he's still in the chat, but I'll throw this out there. In 2016, I was running a flooring company in Estes. Tony Tomlinson was a director of sales for Lumber Liquidators. Had somebody else.
That right there?
Yep, pop in and buy some product for him. So I went down to pick up the wood that was going to be installed. He approaches me and he's like, "Hey man, come here real quick. Grip up with me." And I said, "Okay." So I grip up with him. He's like, "You ever arm wrestled before?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "You got a big ass hand, bro. You should think about arm wrestling." Had no concept. I've never knew anything about arm wrestling whatsoever, ever. Even at that point, we grip up and he's like, "Go." I'm just doing this sideways, whatever nonsense. And he's like, "All right, you ready?" I said, "Yeah." And he's cut and he lays me over like I'm nothing, right? And he's like, "You should really come and arm wrestle," and hands me his card. I'm like, "You just stomp a hole in my ass and tell me to come arm wrestle with you." And he's like, "Yeah, man, you're strong. I think you'd be really good at it." And I said, "I appreciate that." And I left it alone. Never visited it again. Well, I was going to finish my degree, and I was listening to a Lex Friedman podcast, and it was him and Devin Laird. So this was February of 2022 when that cast first came out, right before I was pulling Levon. And he said that arm wrestling is hand chess. And I've got like a 2100 ELA rating on chess. I love chess. My kids and I, we all play chess.
Right.
So when he says that, I'm like, okay, that intrigued me now. So I start looking for arm wrestling groups here in Colorado, found one, and by the end of March 24th was the first month. March 24th, 2022 was the first time I ever went on a table. The next month, April 23rd, I went to Arizona State, Tim's event at the Maverick Bar, and I took second place right hand, third place left hand in the amateurs.
Yeah. What year was that?
2022. That's when Corey Miller pulled Giannis on pay-per-view.
I was there.
Coach Ray pulled. Yeah, you were announcing with Don Underwood. That's when Coach Ray. Yeah, so that's the first time I met you. So it's full circle to go. You know what I mean? Like to come back around like that. That was the first tournament I have ever pulled. Being in the sport now in about 10 days will be 3 years to be where I'm at now. I definitely feel like the trajectory is there. I want to make a name for myself. I don't know how high I'm going to climb, but I want to climb as high as I can, as high as my potential will let me. So
there you go. And I think, the key was that you're surrounding yourself with some smart people, and they know, like, hey, you know what? First of all, we want to see you get better. We're going to shoot you up to the top, but also at the same time, we're going to protect you to make sure you don't get hurt because we know the talent, we know the potential. Make sure this guy doesn't get hurt. And I think by you doing that, you got what it takes. And I can't wait to see you, man. I wish you were pulling the tournament at East vs. West, but I understand because you got the round robin, so I really do. But so much can happen between now and then, so we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited to see where you go from here, my friend.
I appreciate you, brother.
Yes, sir. Well, everybody, we've been on here for a little over an hour now. And Cire, my friend, it was good chopping it up with you, man. I'm glad you had time today. Well, first of all, thank you for having the day change because, you know, I was at a dinner yesterday and I couldn't be able to make it. So, you know, thank you for making tonight work also. So everybody in the chat, all your crew and everything, thanks for chiming in and stuff. And my friend, can we do this again?
Absolutely. You say when, I'll make time always, brother.
Yes, sir. Everybody, have a good night. Enjoy yourself on Whopper Wednesday because I know my wife is waiting on me. We're going to watch Survivor. That's our thing.
Yeah.
But stay with me here so we can sit there and talk shop. Everybody else, we'll talk to y'all soon. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody.
Yes.